Hi everyone, there's a confused simmer over here. So today I'm going to be running a little experiment for my own benefit and hopefully also for yours. As you know, I've just recorded a video on this going over all the login event rewards that we received, but the trait is still making me scratch my brain. If you didn't know, it was the practice makes perfect trait. The summary for this in EnglishSimmer is absolutely abysmal. It gives you no kind of context as to what this trait actually does. All it says is Sims with this trait learn skills faster, even if they are a bit slower at first. And in that video, I went over Rex's kind of little clarification and I tried to test it a little bit, but today I wanted to do a full-on experiment to kind of see the difference. By default, your Sims learn all skills at 50% speed, but by practicing in a single category, so either creative, social, physical, or mental, which I'm fairly sure we don't even have a comprehensive list of the skills breakdown and what category they're in. I honestly would really love to hear that from the Sims team, especially because they always add in new skills like whenever we get a new pack, but they can up the speed to 90%, 130, 160, and even a whopping 180 if they just choose to focus on one category. So of course, that's what we're going to be testing out today. Now for this boost, the Sims have to practice every single day. So I actually have 4 Sims available. Now, number 1 is this lovely lady in the flowery shirt. So of course she has the practice makes perfect trait. And then I also gave them a bunch of traits that just didn't matter. So cat lover and also animal enthusiast. Not gonna have any effect on the skills, the way in which they learn. Then in the next room, we have number 2 who does in fact have the trait again. However, the difference between these two is we're gonna have Venetia 1 only focus on the creative skill set. So I obviously have a guitar, we have an easel, and then I also have a computer for writing. However, Venetia number 2 is actually gonna focus on the creative, the physical, the logical, which is classed as mental technically, and then also the social, so comedy and charisma. Number 3 actually doesn't have the trait, but is only gonna be focusing on creative. And then number 4 also does not have the trait, but is gonna be focusing on everything. We're gonna take a week to see how this actually affects their learning. It really, really annoys me that number 1 isn't number 1 in line. I feel like that's going to get so confusing. I don't know why that's happened, but it's already pissing me off. So I think we're going to start them all with doing a large classic painting. So she has got to feeling focused already because of the practice makes perfect. Number 2, you're also going to do it. Number 3, get on your easel. And number 4, let's go. But obviously these two do not have the trait, and so therefore they haven't actually got into the focus moodlet that number 1 and number 2 have got into. Oh, okay. So the ones who don't have the traits, obviously it did say practice makes perfect Sims will be a little slower at the beginning. So that's really interesting to kind of already see the jump between the 2 slower Sims and then the 2 who don't have the trait. But will practice makes perfect actually mean something to them by the end of it? No, I do not wish to go to Batu. There isn't a force skill and therefore I'm not going. I'm not going to make them like anything. I don't want that having an effect on how quickly their skill increases. Number 1, who I'm actually gonna have focusing on the creative side of things, was the last one to finish her painting. Number 1 is not looking good for you right now, little miss overachiever. So number 1 is on 34%. Number 2 is on 27%, which is wild because right now they're on the exact same playing field. She hasn't done any other skills, even though I want her to do so. Number 3 is on 73, and then number 4 is on 65. So even a difference in these two. Isn't that weird? Next up, we are gonna practice some guitar. It's so weird seeing them all do like the same interaction, just like in a wave. Oh, it freaks me out. It's coming up to 12 p.m. Therefore, I feel like they've all practiced the guitar enough. You can all put that bad boy down and let's have a cheeky little gander at the results. Number 1 is on 38. Number 2 is on 45. Number 3 is on 77. And number 4 is also on 77. That's all we're gonna do with our creative focused ones for today. So they are just gonna hang around, maybe like have a nap, take care of themselves, just go to sleep, number 1 and number 3. Whereas number 2 and number 4, we are going to get working on our punching for a little bit. Considering you are going to be cooped up here for a long while, you may as well exercise those muscles. Damn, they both only did that for about an hour. So how about you then go work on your logic skill, play a little bit of chess. When it comes to their fitness skill from working out on the punching bag, we've got 17% for number 2, aka with the skill, and without the skill we are up to 33%. Ooh, the practice makes perfect sim number 2 has actually got into a focus moodlet thanks to the practice makes perfect trait. Venetia 2 is on a roll and will be more efficient at mental skills. And now I have been reading people's opinions on this trait, and honestly it feels like I'm not the only one who's confused by this, by the kind of very generic surface level language that the Sims team have actually used when it comes to this skill. But I have seen a lot of people saying it doesn't really make sense that it's kind of pushing you into only those like logical mental skills. Working in anything that gets you focused, for example, handiness, programming, I'm fairly sure is also considered that. You also have like robotics, even crystal creations like crystal making and jewelry making is considered a mental skill. But obviously you only get focused off this trait. Like it doesn't give you the energized moodlet, it doesn't give you the confident moodlet, and it also doesn't give you the inspired moodlet. So obviously the logical mental skills are gonna build up faster because of that buff. I also find that a little bit weird. I think that should depend on which skill you're actually going after. Like for example, Venetia 1, I feel should be inspired because she has practice makes perfect, but she's only focusing on that creative mindset. Wrapping it up at 4 p.m. for these two, we are going to swiftly move on to working on our speech, aka one of our social skills. With the logic, number 2 with the trait has 56%, and number 4 without the trait is almost 100% complete, almost a level 2. First sim to hit level 2. Oh my word, I'm gonna have to sit and listen to them yap so much. Number 4 has actually already reached a level 2 in charisma, 39% complete of level 2, whereas the one with practice makes perfect, obviously this like slower learning is definitely having an effect, 70% only on the first level. And I'm pretty much gonna repeat that process. I don't want to obviously show you that every single day because that will get boring for you lot, just as I'm sure it's going to get boring for these Sims. Do we see how much their paintings actually sell for? Because I've seen people say that it actually has an effect on how much they cost. So number 1's was poor quality. It was worth 81 simoleons. Number 2 was also poor quality, 82 simoleons. So really not much difference. 74 simoleons poor quality. So the practice makes perfect trait actually has the more expensive ones, and then 76 poor quality for the 2 without the traits. That's the least amount of money. So it does slightly seem to be affecting the cost of things. Interesting development. Number 4 actually became inspired. So obviously that's going to have a little like effect on how quickly her skill went up. Whereas number 3 is really struggling to keep up with the rest of them. That took her so long to finish that painting. Day 2 is complete. Let's start on the paintings first of all. So 122, still poor quality. We've got 107. I feel like the focusing on creativity is already starting to show a little bit in that discrepancy of price. Number 3 is 123, poor quality. So honestly, these two aren't super far behind. And this one is 107, poor quality for number 4. This one is selling for 23. Number 2's is selling for 17. Again, not focusing on only creativity is seemed to having like a little bit of an effect. Number 3's is 24 simoleons and number 4's is 22 simoleons. Number 1 is 30 in guitar, 91 in painting, and then honestly the writing went up really quick, which I think is we're seeing that knock-on effect of only focusing on the creative skills here, because obviously after she painted and then after she also practiced music for a little bit, she went on to writing, and that definitely seemed to increase her writing skill at a slightly accelerated rate. So she's already 13% in level 2, whereas the sim who is focusing on everything but has the new trait is only on 64% of the first level. Without the trait and only focusing on creative is 40% in writing, and then the one who doesn't have the trait but also isn't focusing on anything in specific is 26%. Now, honestly, it does seem to be a little bit of correlation between only focusing on one set of skill building, because even the one who doesn't have the practice makes perfect, she seems to be going up at like a faster rate than the one who's focusing on everything and doesn't have it. I feel like the daily roundups are gonna get confusing with like all the numbers and jumping between like 1, 2, 3, and 4. I genuinely might just play the whole week and see where we end up. Day 5 in the skill building house. Venetia number 1, who is the one who's fully dedicated to creativity, has dedication, has reached the highest potential for creative skills, but don't stop practicing. So this is the first time I've ever seen this. I'm fairly sure that means we've got like the 180%, which is absolutely wild. It lasts for 24 hours. Obviously, we are going to be practicing today. Then we have number 2, who also continues to have the trait. However, doesn't actually have the dedicated, because she has been working on every other skill category alongside creativity. And then obviously these two don't have anything to do with the practice makes perfect trait because they don't have it. Also, every single one of them on Wednesday, so that's after like what, 4 days of not really leaving the house, only working on skills, they all started to get a mind fog and started to burn out. Even the ones who were doing like multiple skills, which I just thought was interesting. I did clear the moodlet because I didn't want it bringing it down any of their skills. I got my pen, I got my paper, I am writing down all of my notes, all of my discoveries. Not me trying to 3-speed to get through this before the football starts, because I know that all of my neighbors are going to get rowdy as soon as the Euros is back on at 5 p.m. Have I broken my Sims game? It says that the skill is 146% complete. I don't think that's supposed to happen. I realize that around level 4, level 5, she started going absolutely wild. Like, it just felt as if she was taking over everyone else. I wonder if this glitch is going to carry over to the ones who don't have the practice makes perfect. I mean, talk about practice making perfect. 173% complete. That's going to be wild if she reaches 200%, because that technically should have rolled over to level 5. I'm interested to see if number 3 is going to roll over to number 5, or if hers is also going to continue going up. Oh my goodness. I think my game may be broken. Oh, I broke my game, or this trait broke my game. Who knows at this point? Wait, saving fixed it. I just saved my game and it rolled over to level 5. Okay. Whew, thank goodness for that. I am, however, gonna stop my mods from working. Number one's dedication has stuck around. She is absolutely thriving. All the others are definitely just surviving at this point. Like, just get me through to Sunday, please. I wouldn't mind being trapped in a room for a week, just being able to work on skills. I'll be the one to say it. Aliens abduct me. Run the tests. I don't know why I'm saying aliens. It's probably like Amazon or something. I swear Amazon have paid people to stay in a room and like watch TV for a week. Considering today is the last day, I figured I would show you how quickly hers is going up in comparison to everyone else's. She is absolutely smashing it. She is a level 5 in painting. Funnily enough, I think because we've been doing painting first, like every single day, they wake up and they do a large, like classic painting. Hers is actually the least out of like her specific skills. And I think that's because like the more that you do creative, then we move on to guitar. So that like momentum that she has, clearly, it's literally called momentum. And then obviously with the dedication alongside that, that kind of carries over to then the other creative skills, and that would carry on for as many like creative elements that we have within the game. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure on the categories that each different skill is in, but I think personally cooking and mixology are also part of like creative, maybe even like fabrication, although that could be mental. Candle making, I need a comprehensive list. I either need to make one myself or I need someone to already have one available. So she is level 5 in painting, almost a nice. She's on 68%, whereas Venetia 2, who's been doing everything under the sun, is only a level 3 in painting. This is the reason we've had to just do large classics, is because of her. She's not carrying the team. She can barely do anything but like classic paintings because her skill level is so low. For number 3, aka the one who's only been focusing on creativity without the skill, she's on 67% of painting level 4. So she's basically a whole level behind the practice makes perfect sim. And then number 4, who's been focusing on everything and also doesn't have the trait, is painting level 35. So I've had them paint all at the same time, all the same paintings every single day. Obviously, when we wrap it up, we'll go over like the cost of those paintings to see if like practice makes perfect actually does increase the money that is available. But let's continue to practice guitar for all of them. I think we're going to practice till about 11 a.m. I should probably use like a stopwatch to see the increments, but that's getting a little bit too scientific for my little smooth brain, okay? I am an English person, first and foremost. I enjoy reading, I enjoy dissecting words. I'm not really a science or a maths girly. So she's level 6, she's at 36% when it comes to that. Moving on to the one who doesn't have the trait, she's at 41. So again, practically a whole skill level between them. And I really seem to notice her picking up, like this practice makes perfect trait picking up pretty much when she got dedication, which then led to her being about level 4 or 5. That's when she really started like gaining on the rest of them. That's when it felt like in 3 speed, she was zooming, dude. Like, look at how fast her skill goes in 3 speed. It is absolutely wild. Again, we can only really write a children's book thanks to somebody. I'm not trying to name any names here, but there is someone very specific who is bringing the whole side down. There we go. End of the experiment. Let's have these two stop working on their charisma. We're definitely gonna look at skills first. We're gonna go over the 3 kind of creative ones that we were focusing on. So our sim who has the practice makes perfection and then also was only focusing on creativity has level 6 in guitar, level 5 in painting, level 7 in writing. So because we were doing that third, I don't really know what was kind of like pushing the writing up to make it go like even faster than the other 2, but she was definitely the best at writing compared to the other sim who had practice makes perfect, but also was focusing on everything. We have guitar level 3. She was slacking. Painting level 3, but honestly even worse. And writing level 3. These two were pretty much on par with each other, the guitar and writing, which does go to show that the momentum again was kind of there. Painting was definitely the one that like lacked in that. However, it didn't obviously have half of as much of an effect as it did. Like the one who was focusing on creativity had almost pretty much double this sim skills. So if you are looking for a little bit of hard work within your game, a little bit of consequence, maybe making skill building harder, because I know a ton of people do say that skill building is too easy in The Sims 4, I feel like this trait is kind of perfect if you don't just choose to focus on one skill set. If you want a jack of all trades sim, which is usually how I play anyway, I don't ever really choose to just focus on one skill set for a sim. This will definitely hold you back a little bit. You will absolutely feel that struggle, and your skills will not get up as much as you are used to. Which, speaking of, when it comes to number 3, who obviously didn't have the trait but was only focusing on creativity, guitar level 5, painting level 4, writing level 5. So it honestly even seems, even though they weren't getting like momentum, because obviously that's tied to the new trait, there seems to be a pattern here of painting just like not doing very well in comparison to the other two. Again, they were all kind of on the same level as each other, but she still wasn't as good as number 1, who had the practice makes perfect. Even in painting, which was both of their worst, number 1 was at least a skill set above. And then when it comes to number 4, who was working on everything, didn't have the trait. Guitar level 5, 47%. So just a little bit less than the one who also didn't have the trait. When it came to painting level 4, which again is pretty much around the same, just slightly lower than the sim who was only focusing on creativity, and then was 63 in writing, and again just a little bit less. I don't know what it was that maybe shifted between these two. Maybe there is just like a little bit of overlap of kind of that system. If you are only like focusing on one skill set, maybe even in the base game, like without that trait, that was already kind of a thing that we just didn't really notice as simmers, unless you're like paying close attention to their skill building. You're not really gonna notice. And then finally, I do just want to have a look at the skill sets of the two who were doing like everything across the board. Number 4, who didn't have the practice makes perfect, was definitely a better learner than this sim over here. So charisma level 4 at 93%, whereas she had charisma level 3 at 46%. Comedy, I didn't do too much. I did kind of focus on charisma a little bit more. There was only a couple of days where I chose to do comedy over charisma, but level 2, 75%, level 2, 1%. Fitness was level 3 at 28%, which was a little bit wild, although they were doing this for shorter spurts, because obviously with fitness, you can kind of get tired muscles, and the Sims kind of take themselves off like either the boxing or the treadmill. So I feel like that's why it's lower than like charisma, because we couldn't just do it for X amount of hours. 28% level 3, level 2 19%. Handiness was already a level 2 with this one, whereas handiness was still stuck on level 1 with the practice makes perfect. Logic was a level 4, logic was level 3. This is kind of the closest one really, because obviously we did have that slight buff of feeling focused a fair bit of the time, but even that focus buff didn't really get us up to the same level. Like it wasn't doing as much heavy lifting as I personally would have hoped. So that just goes to show kind of what this trait gets up to. Again, like I said, level 4 and 5 is really where you start to notice that like 180 buff. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 days into it is when we actually got that dedication, which obviously gave us the like 180% and really unlocked her full potential. Not gonna lie, I did forget about the paintings and how much money they cost. So this is number 1, and her first painting was poor quality. It was 81 simoleons, and then her last one was still normal quality. So she hasn't got to like masterpieces yet, but I have heard people say that if you focus on one specific skill, with practice makes perfect, you're actually more likely to get masterpieces and higher selling. So that's 273 simoleons. Number 2, these are all in such an annoying order. Poor quality, 82 simoleons at the very beginning. Still poor quality, but 139. So definitely not as good as number 1, but obviously her skill wasn't as good, so that kind of makes sense. Feels like I'm telling you all their dirtiest little secrets. Poor quality, 74 simoleons. And then normal quality, 230. Poor quality, 76 simoleons onto normal quality, 247 simoleons. So definitely practice makes perfect, had the higher skill, so therefore definitely seemed to be having better paintings overall. Also, just a little interesting note, if you do have lifestyles, which I think came with Snowy Escape, they all on day 6, which was the Friday, they all unlocked the Indoorsy lifestyle. Considering all of them unlocked it, I figured it wasn't really gonna harm them that much because they were all still on the level playing field, but I thought I would mention that. But I appreciate you all so much. I hope this video was interesting. Obviously, I don't know how it's gonna like come to be in editing. I don't know how long it's gonna be, but I hope this was helpful. I hope this kind of like showed you what this trait actually does, because it definitely doesn't describe it well like in the game. I will actually link Rex's X thread down below if you want to see the words that are kind of behind this trait and its like inner workings, because I do think that's personally what helped me understand. If you do just want to see an overview, I'm going to leave a video up here at the end of the video as well, just to go over everything that we got in these daily login rewards. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Let me know if you found this video helpful. Let me know if you got this reward, and also if you are going to be using this trait. I appreciate you all so much, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye now.